No, that's quite over. Yeah. If there is, if you have that. But, yeah, if you see that you can't put two people right
Also, so tonight is the Republican night. I'm here so you can see what they talk about. Yeah, I can sign it. I'm here. Here, hold this phone.
Okay, you got it?
Yeah, and this is Mike Carrington. Now, what you got a shirt on for? What you running for?
I'm running for county commissioner.
Possibly, but what? You host.
We're at Red Bud Estates on 38th Street, 1800, and they're at the, you can't miss it. You'll see all the cars. It's going to be a packed house. It'll be standing room. It should be a very good question and answer center. I encourage everybody to come out. Good questions. Interview candidates. We have Catherine. Say hi, Catherine. How are you? Well, we have Deputy Stiegel. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mike. I always welcome anybody want to jump in this fire. So he said he's gonna run as an independent. So he's getting signatures. Like I said, I'm just here. Hey, Chris, what are you doing on here? This is the Tea Party. We're over here at Redbud Estates. Uh, like I said, I will be voting Democrat, but I also want to hear what these Republicans have to say about some of these officers. So, I'm just here. It's open to the public. Catherine Callahan is here. She's all over Facebook raising cane, so we'll see how she does. But here's all the candidates running on the Republican side.
Request for everybody to understand before we get started. The first one is speakers are going to get 10 minutes each. Okay, at 8 minutes, Adam's going to tell them 8 minutes. That's the wrap up, and he's going to try to downgrade it. When they get to 10, we appreciate it there. Then leave and turn it over to the next person. Second thing of it is that speakers need to talk about what they're going to do for us. You all came out here to hear one thing, what these candidates are going to do for you. Not what somebody else has done, not what Tony is doing, anything like that. So everybody will speak about what you're going to do for us. That's. And then the last one is, do not want to talk about other candidates. All candidates here are going to talk about themselves. So if speakers come in after everybody speaks,
the state of Indiana. We have a high-tech crime unit that we partnered with the Anderson Police Department that serves 5 counties. And what that has been really groundbreaking for our office, but also prosecutors' offices across the state of Indiana, because as you can imagine, evidence in cases has changed dramatically over the past 20 years or so. I joke that some old, particularly with Rodney, sometimes a long time ago, trials were, half a fingerprint, a hunch, and a small case file. That's not the reality that we face anymore. We have, because as you can imagine, evidence in cases has changed dramatically over the past 20 years or so. I joke that some old, particularly with Rodney, sometimes a long time ago, trials were, half a fingerprint, a hunch, and a small case file. That's not the reality that we face anymore. We have, we have to do Facebook search warrants, Instagram, all kinds of social media. Cell phone extractions is a massive amount of data for us. And I think that they have been a great advocate for policing and transparency and accountability with the public, but it creates a lot of discovery for a prosecutor's office. So what we have to go through has changed dramatically, and what we have to review, turn over, and discovery. Discovery just means those things. Everything that we get, we have to turn over to the defense. And so it's added a large burden to prosecutors' offices over about the past 20 years. But that high-tech crime unit has really turned around our ability to extract a cell phone from what used to take 8 to 10 months through the Indiana State Police. We can turn that around in 3 to 5 days through our own high-tech crime unit. So it's really an important thing for us to be able to work investigations, for us to complete our discovery faster, and that's something that's been a real value for our office that we received in the past few years. Also, we've secured the only contract in the state of Indiana with the Office of the Inspector General Social Security Administration. We have 2 investigators that we signed that contract a couple of years ago. They approached us and said, we like working with the Madison County Prosecutor's Office because we're aggressive with these fraud cases that they brought us over the years. And we have 2 investigators that now work the entire state of Indiana for beneficiary side, disability, Social Security. And they are 2 of only 3 investigators for the entire state of Indiana. When you think about the amount of money that's being paid out in Social Security disability. Absolutely no issue with anybody that's entitled to receive that. But there are people, obviously, as you can imagine, that try to fraudulently obtain or receive Social Security benefits, and that's what those investigators work with. Also, since 2022, I served as the elected chair of the Madison County Community Corrections Advisory Board in our local JRAC, which is our Justice Reinvestment Advisory Council. And those institutions, one oversees our community corrections program here in Madison County, and we've made a lot of progress with changing how kind of our work release center is operated, what the capacity of that is. We've cut down on a lot of the failure returns and a lot of escape charges that we've had to file outside of there. And then our Justice Reinvestment Advisory Council really serves as a new hub for investment through grants and things like that through the state of Indiana. It's really a great system for us, the sheriff, and the members of the criminal justice system to get together consistently and to attack these problems from shared information and from having these conversations. And so I'm proud to be part of that. Through these past 6 years, we've maintained, Madison County is about the 13th highest in population in the state of Indiana. There's 17 counties with a population over 100,000. Every year we're right around 7th, 8th, 9th or so in terms of felony filing. We face a real criminal justice challenge here in Madison County. That is a reality that I don't think is news to any of you. What we are proud of is the amount of accountability that we get out of the Madison County criminal justice system. And I think that's because we have a very aggressive prosecutor's office. We have wonderful law enforcement here in Madison County. We also have judges that are willing to hold people accountable. And I don't in other counties across the state. And so through that time and for about the past 10, 12 years, we've had the highest per capita DOC rate, which is a consequence of both a challenging criminal justice environment and accountability. And that's what we do at the Madison County Prosecutor's Office. We've maintained an 85% conviction rate at trial, which compared to the national average from the Bureau of Justice Statistics is about 68%. So we've been successful at trial, and through that time, I've maintained a personal conviction rate of about 95%. For known murder cases, other cases, and other different types of trials between drug dealing, child molest cases, rape cases, every type of major felony case. I personally tried in the courtroom, and I want to talk just briefly. Where am I at on time? I apologize.
We got about 3 minutes.
It's got about 3 minutes. So I'll talk very quickly about what my 4 priorities are. If I'm fortunate enough to serve as the next prosecutor in Madison County, one is maintain our office and of course we will. And also, I think that the thing that I'm most excited about is the fact that we will be able to increase our accountability when it comes to lower level crime. That is one thing that we have not done a good job with in the previous years. And the biggest challenge with that has always been the extent of jail overcrowding that we've experienced in Madison County. And I don't think the public understands just the extent to which that the entire system has had to work together to reduce our jail population numbers, not just in the Madison County Jail, but in other counties. And there are times with people, I'm not talking about their first misdemeanor offense or their second, but we have people that have committed 10, 15, 20 misdemeanors. And you cannot tell me that they do not deserve a jail sentence for these types of crimes. Behavior, you have to sit down. And we are going to do a better job of holding those offenders accountable with those resources that we have in Madison County. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I look forward to answering any of your questions.
I've been with the department for 24 years. I've served in the jail, the courthouse, and I'm currently a patrol officer. And saying that, today was like a busy day. I wasn't sure I was going to make it here on time because I was doing some auto guard training. That's something that it's very important to me, is make sure that we honor those that have fallen before us. So a little bit about me. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I got that from Anderson University. One of the unique parts about me is under Governor Frank O'Bannon, I attended the Indiana Police Academy. During his administration or his governorship, He wanted higher educated, better qualified officers, so I was in the inaugural class. So that's pretty unique, and then one of the things that I tried to learn from is that they emphasize leadership, they emphasize the abilities to go out there and be more than what we can and do what is right. The things that I like is backing on word, but deeds, not words. There's a lot of things that's been said, there's a lot of things that's, not accurate, and I think it's really important that we act, what we say is what we do. That we're out here in the community, we're not overlooking the problems that happen in the community. Deputy Prosecutor Hannah, he mentioned a big thing, is misdemeanors. We have not been arresting on misdemeanors as much because the perceptions in the community that we're not doing our jobs. And the jail has been a major issue with that and overcrowded. When you're overlooked, when someone thinks we're overlooking it, we're not arresting on it, when there's no consequences, it makes all of us look bad, and it makes citizens' perception on us bad. And then I think, statistics in policing is kind of a unique thing. In the statistics can show that crime is reduced, but we don't feel safer. And when you say that crime's reduced, if we're not arresting on misdemeanors, if the public's not seeing us arresting on misdemeanors, they're looking like we're not doing our job. We're looking at this court system's not functioning right. And perception is the public's not going to want to report the crime to us. So hopefully with the jail, we'll be able to get more of those that are guilty to have some consequences, and then we're going to get a better perception. That's one of those we'll have to work together to see what we can do. Not everyone's needs to stay in jail, but consequences. Still a big concern. Any of you have noticed that we have more people on the streets and tent cities. I ride horses. We ride horses through the trails in Madison County, and a lot of these trails, I don't even feel safe on my horse. And I know being on my horse, we can take care of a lot of problems. So when you see tents, when you see needles, when you see syringes, and I'm up there on my horse getting concerned about my horse getting stabbed by one of these needles out here when I'm walking these trails, that's a big concern. And one of my daughters was even jumped on one of our trails. So this has been in the past, but it's still, safety is a big concern. I mean, my mom won't even go on the trails because after my daughter got jumped, she's like, I'm older, I can't defend myself. And we should have a lot more safety. To know that, we have all this beautiful land and yet we're allowing people to invade it, it's not making us feel safe. We need to get those people help. We need to get them, get them off the streets, put them in some kind of community, do something. I mean, jail is not the solution. But however, some of them, when they come to us, we have an opportunity to make a change. Another big concern of mine is the kids. The kids right now, they're more susceptible to social media, they're more susceptible to the sex crimes. I mean, back in the day, we were, sex education came about 6th grade. Now we've got to worry about our 4th graders. We've got to worry about our 3rd graders. And because they have the amount of information that's available to them, as a parent, there's only so much we can do. And we try to force the teacher, try to educate the kids, but the best way is to educate all of our society. We've got to do something better for our kids. If I were right on numbers, there's almost 500 sex offenders in Madison County that are registered. That's a very big concern. I don't know, it's mental health. Is it because they feel safe in Madison County because we're not knowing them enough. Is it, you know, why are they here in Madison County, and why do we have such an influx of those that commit sex crimes? I know there's some task force. We probably could improve on our task force to make it safer for the community. Anyhow, there's a couple kinds of policing. There's proactive and reactive. Proactive policing is where the officers are out there, they're doing their job, they're enforcing crimes. If you do proactive police work, a lot of times our statistics will go up. They'll make it seem like they'll make our community maybe look unsafe or less safe because the officers are doing their job and being out there in the public. The other one is being reactive. If you're a reactive officer, then you're just waiting for the calls to come in. I know at least in one university, they fired an officer because he was proactive in making it look dangerous for the kids that was attending that school. That's a concern of mine. I want to make sure that our officers are doing their job and feeling that they can be proactive, they can go out there and do effective arrests, and that they have the support and the backing that they need. If we don't pay attention to the crime, it's going to look like crime's allowed in here. So hopefully we can make a lot of changes and be out in the community more. With the increase in technology, we've not interacted as much. We stay in our car a whole lot more, and that's a big concern. Tinted windows, if you're able to hide in your car, community can't see what you're doing. That's, you know, people want to feel like we're able to be approached, and I know even without all of our technical gear and our tactical gear, we're looking more militarized and not so much like we're approachable. And you know, if we're out here in the community, if we're out here on the ball fields, if we're out here interacting a lot more, it's going to be a lot better for perception that everyone has of us. So you don't have any questions? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Doug Shuck. I live here in Anderson. How long have you been with the department?
24 years.
What's one thing that you would do differently if you were elected?
One of the big things is communication. Getting some statistics out there for you, maybe not necessarily statistics, but let you know what we're doing. Let you know, hey, you know, if we're setting speed zones, you know, let you know, hey, we're doing seatbelts. Let you know why we're doing that instead of, if you guys see us every once in a while on the interstate and you see us doing a speed zone, you think, okay, why are so many cops out there? What are they doing? But they could be doing something in the community. Making it safer on our roadways is one way that we make it safer for the community. Any other questions?
There'll be more time for Q&A later as well.
Great.
Brian, just before you take off, for the people who didn't come in, they came in a little bit later. We will have Q&A after everybody gets through. That way, everybody can have their time to tell them what they want to do. So, appreciate that. Brian?
It's Nicole.
I can wait if you want somebody else to do it.
No, it's your turn.
It's your turn.
You just want to say your
I know, I'm sorry, I was trying to look at the cameras. Okay, who's got my timer?
Yep.
Okay.
Just speak loud enough and we all can hear you. I'm deaf.
All right, my name's Nicole Schuyler Kapuscinski, and I am running for the Madison County Council District 2. And to be an Indiana delegate, because I've experienced what happens when the government fails, and I refuse to stay silent about that. I'm a combat veteran who served during Operation Iraqi Freedom 2008. My absentee ballot was stolen too, everybody, and nobody has helped me figure out who stole it. I figured it out, but none of my elected officials helped me figure that out. So, what I didn't expect was coming home and having to fight just as hard for accountability right here in my own community. So, my story. Why am I here? Over the years, my family and I have faced challenges that never should have happened to us. We were caught in a legal and financial situation that cost us over $100,000 in damages and consumer injuries during the pandemic lockdown because systems that were supposed to protect us didn't protect us. Didn't protect me, didn't protect my husband, He lost his job, he was out of work for over a year, courts were shut down, and it cost us a lot of money to save our property, a half acre. And I'm still paying the mortgage on it for the rest of my life, so it was very expensive, folks, very expensive lesson. And like many of you, we were left to figure out on our own. No guidance, no accountability, no one stepping in to fix what was broken. So I did what I've always done, and I started digging. I filed complaints. Some would probably tell you I'm like the local Karen, because I file so many complaints, and I really don't care at this point. There's no accountability, no one stepping in to fix what was broken. So I requested records, I attended meetings, and I asked questions that others wouldn't ask, and people don't like me for it. And what I found wasn't just one problem, it was a pattern of missed oversight, a pattern of decisions without transparency, and a pattern where the people paying into the system weren't being protected at all. And I don't feel like if I'm paying property taxes and nobody's coming to help me save my property, then they shouldn't get to tell me how to spend my money. That's just me. Now, let's talk about the role I'm running for, because this part matters. The county council is the financial authority of the county. They control the budget, they decide how your tax dollars are spent, and they approve funding for department projects and salaries. They are supposed to provide oversight to make sure every dollar is justified. They hold the purse strings for Madison County, and that means they are supposed to be one of the strongest checks and balances in local government. And I'm not trying to harp on anybody, but I am part of the 47% of Madison County voters and taxpayers that don't get to see justice, and I'm still upset about it. So, carrying on, where things are falling short. But here's the problem. That level of oversight isn't always happening. Budgets get approved without enough questions, fundings get allocated without clear accountability, and the public is often left out of the process entirely. We get shut down at the podium, they try to get us carried out and claim that we are horrible just because we want to have our rights and we want to be heard. If you watch some of our podcasts, we capture a lot of it on camera. We also get in trouble for that, but if we didn't have our cameras present, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're in this room, some people would never know what was going on in Madison County. So, let's keep going.
Okay, Cole,
What is my time?
While you're looking at it, what you tell us what you're gonna do to help us?
Okay, that's
if you
right,
do
that's,
like it.
that's where I was going.
Thank you.
got 6
So,
minutes.
I got 6 minutes, okay. What I plan to do, and what I turned into the Herald Bulletin, which will be printed in the Herald Bulletin, was, okay, people keep saying that I don't have qualifications. Well, I'm a former Army Logistics and Administration, national and international defense, and I have medals in global war on terrorism. I'm now known as a combat veteran, and I have a lot of free time to fill. So political experience, I've done the active and local government meetings, grassroots organizers, experience in civic engagement, public records investigation, and holding local officials accountable through direct participation. Changes I would make if elected. I aim to build a stronger Madison County through transparent leadership, responsible budgeting, common sense, and community-driven decision-making. My priorities are putting Madison County first, improving the infrastructure, addressing the water and the environmental concerns, supporting responsible economic development, and strengthening public safety, because and that's like one of my #1 things is public safety, and I feel like I have to agree with some of the things that Stephen was up here saying, that there's a lot of safety issues when you get out there on our trails. I did the homeless community stuff, so I've been out there, I've helped clean them up. In fact, that's how me and Catherine met, was cleaning up the one over by Dawson's Garage, and it cost the taxpayers over $100,000. But we got it clean. So, the other, I will ensure the government operates openly and efficiently while fighting for accountability and making sure every resident receives the justice and representation that they deserve. I would also find funding to build a new morgue and to create some type of homeless hub for Madison County that helps get people back on their feet instead of continually putting them back in jail and locking them up for everything that they do, because not everybody that's homeless is a drug addict. Not every addict is homeless. So, and I'm aware of some. So that's why that is very, the homeless stuff is very near and dear to my heart, because I've been homeless, some of my family have been homeless, and there's not a lot out there for us to get back on our feet. But I went from hero to homeless to homeowner in 10 years, so, I did something right. So I just want to share that with everybody. Okay.
Good evening, I'm Brian Bell, I'm a Republican candidate for sheriff. First, I want to thank the Tea Party for having us out here. I really appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself to you. I'm like Andrew, I'm born and raised here in Madison County, attended high school. Came from a family of law enforcement as well. My dad was a preserve at the sheriff's department for about 25 years. Working at the sheriff's department was a lifetime goal. It's where I always wanted to work. As a kid, I used to spend a lot of time with Andrew's father at McDonald's, sitting in his car and just listening to his stories. But I got lucky enough to get on. My college education, I attended Wilson University. I attended Ivy Tech, I have an associate degree in criminal justice, and then also graduated from the FBI National Academy in 2003. I was hired in the sheriff's department, worked there for 33 and a half, 34 years. I started in the jail. As a civilian jail officer, working my way up to be a supervisor in the jail. Ultimately worked my way up to patrol. During my time in patrol, I held the rank of sergeant, lieutenant, and captain. I was head of our SWAT team for 10 years. I was president of our negotiation group, which negotiates the contract for the merit officer in the county. I did that 3 times. I was the president of it twice. I was the chief deputy under Ron Rickerson. One thing I take a lot of pride in during my time with Ron Rickerson is he was very big on being active in the community. He had me out. Attended many meetings, triad, just so many to tell you. Got to the point where everybody knew me by name. But I believe that's the job of the sheriff. You have to attend these community events to know what's happening in your own backyard. I ran for sheriff twice before. I'm running again. My 4 main things that I want to see accomplished is I absolutely believe the sheriff has to be visible. You have to be visible in the public. You have to be visible for your guys. That means sometimes you got to get up in the middle of the night and show up on calls. You don't need to show up and micromanage calls, but if you have homicides, if you have fatalities, you need to show up and support your guys. I will do that. I've always done that as the chief deputy, continue as a sheriff. I'll also continue to be involved in community events, not just during election time, but the whole time. I'm a very big believer in Judge Sims' vision for the jail, having a drug treatment facility for mental health. I think that's a great opportunity for the county as a whole, because drugs are probably the #1 crime in Madison County. I will also increase enforcement of drug activity. Over the last 3 years, we have 2 guys removed, a female and a gentleman removed from the drug task force. I will try my best to implement them back within the drug task force. I will make sure that your tax dollars are being spent in Madison County. We have 2 officers now assigned out of Madison County. I can promise you, one of them will be coming back. I believe that they are doing good work, but most of that work should be done in Madison County. It's your tax dollars. I also believe the sheriff should work hand in hand with the county, especially now with the county budgets. The sheriff's department is one of only a few agencies that actually brings in money, and they have quite a bit of money within the commissary account to help offset the budget. At last count I saw was $2 million. I will do my best to work with the county to help the overall county budget for everything. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you letting me speak. And waiting for some questions. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everybody. So I'm Dr. Catherine Callahan. I'm an advanced practice family nurse practitioner, board certified. So a little bit about me. I was raised on the east side of Indianapolis. My father died when I was very young. I was able to attend college and his service-connected death. And then I paid my own way through master's and my postgraduate work. So I do hold a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. I do hold a Master's of Science in Nursing and Clinical Nurse Specialist in Women's Child Health. I also have a postgraduate as a family nurse practitioner, and I also hold doctorates in nursing practice. I've been the dean of nursing schools, and I've practiced in many networks, so I'm very familiar with how insurances go, how cost is developed, and how things actually work in healthcare. So, more about me, I have 2 children. People often ask, what do I think about education and the fight for the children to have the choice of where to go to school? My kids have been through parochial schools. I was blessed enough that I, got an education that I could support them and put them through the best schools. We found early on that my kids excelled in education and we could not stay there. So I then moved them to a public school. I then sent them on to a public school. They became the #1 in their class and they brought home no homework and no books. I found that to be a problem as well. So I sent my one daughter off to school to study over in England. And she went over to England and she called mom and said, I can't stay in this school. That was right here in Madison County. So after that, they both scored perfect on the IREs. They have done very well. So I moved her to another public school, which she aspired and did very well. She herself went and got her own full scholarship. I had no idea until the first day she attended college and said, you won't be paying for this. That is how I raised my children, and that's how I try to educate our community on everything so you can do for yourself, not that what can we do for you. So I want to explain to everybody that, school choice should be to the children and the parents. They have to be involved. They have to be able to get to a school that can meet their needs. Not all kids are made the same. Not all school districts are made the same. So we need to really allow the children and the parents to make the best decisions for themselves. My children now speak 3 languages and do very well for themselves. My brother, he is a retired lieutenant colonel. He still works on the civil side, but he has served our country for over 30 years. My dad was a lifetime military man as well. My mother is from Japan, and she raised my brother and I all by herself after my dad died when I was 9 and my brother was 11. So if you wonder where I get my strength from, it is from that woman right there. So as a business owner and as a coroner, that's how I got involved in this whole situation. Is I was the chief deputy coroner. We were not allowed funding. We ran through all of the gamut. And after living that experience, and I was able to now look at us. I mean, 3, 4 years later, the coroner's office has funding of over $600,000. We were only at $200,000. And I always said, we're going to get busier way before we have less people. COVID has taken a great hit on us, and it will continue to take that. They're going to have a lot of mental health problems. There's nothing about me that doesn't understand the mental population. So I do believe I can contribute and speak on behalf of the county as what we can do better and what we can be more cost effective about for our mental health. So I just want to say that, I am a doer. I am one with proven results. When the people came to me in LaPel, when LKQ was coming, it was going to be put by our well for Jennifer. I took my own personal money of over $40,000 and hired an attorney. In less than 45 days, in the majority of the BCA, we stopped the project and 5-0 unanimously voted on behalf of saving people. That's wrong. People ask me, are you going to keep the salary that you get from the Senate seat? Well, what I'm going to do is put it in a bank account. In those times where we feel we're not getting our justice, I will hire private attorneys to come in and defend us, since people don't want to defend us, so they should be elected. So that's kind of how I work. I just want to say that as we move through this, when you go to the polls, it's more than just name recognition. You have to ask yourself, what exactly has this elected service done for me? Have my taxes gone down? Has my grocery bills gone down? Has my utility bills gone down? Has running my business gotten easier? I'd like to tell you, the tax check I just wrote 2 days ago was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I just opened my property taxes and it's crazy. I mean, I just can't get over, we keep hearing that we have the lowest taxes. We have the largest tax cut in Indiana history. Well, can somebody please show me, because it's not on my bank. So I just want people to understand, as you go to the polls, please cast educated votes. What the people are actually experiencing is higher property taxes, more fees, and rising costs across the board. We can all agree to that. And that disconnect matters. So let's understand, in recent biennial state budgets on House Bill 1001, in 2023 and 25, our bills and taxes have increased or shifted. So yes, they moved from one area, but then we felt it in another area. So we didn't really win. This shell game of money is not working for any of us. None of us. So I want to, in last month's meeting, even here locally, according to Commissioner Rick Gardner, very few Madison County homeowners are expected to see real savings from Senate Bill 1. The main reason I'm running is because our fire territory in South Madison took a big hit. I can't even imagine running an area without any fire safety. Absolutely not. I don't even know why we were in discussions of not having pay raises for sheriffs. And that went on forever. And there should never be. It just kills the morale. So where is our relief? Well, that's why I'm running. Because I have no problem pushing back when it's not right. We always hear, well, we're going to sign this and we're going to get past it and then we're going to come back and revisit it. But nobody ever comes back and revisits it. Well, I have a brain of an elephant and I don't forget what they said we're going to do. I bring it back to them. Okay. When leadership tells you one thing, but your bank account tells you another, something is broken. So let's be clear. I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to tell you exactly what I will do differently. First, property tax reform that actually works. We don't need tweaks. We need real reform. My long-term goal is simple. Eliminate property taxes and replace them with a fair consumption-based system. Why? Because you should not be taxed on something you already own. You should not lose your home because you couldn't keep up with your taxes. And until we get there, I will fight for immediate protections. Exempt your primary homestead from property taxes, or at minimum, protect it from a tax sale, so no family loses their home over a tax debt. That's not radical, that's constitutional. I don't understand why some of you bought houses at $50,000. You should be paying still on $50,000. That's what you budgeted for. This is crazy that you buy a house for $50,000 and now it's $200,000 and you have to pay for that. So Article 1, Section 22 of the Indiana Constitution makes it clear that government should protect a person's ability to maintain the necessities of life, including their home. And second, real tax caps based on purchase value. Here's a better way, or a better idea that we're seeing. Cap property taxes based on your actually paid for your home, like I said, not inflated assessments. Third, stop reckless spending at the source, because the truth is, that's why everything's increasing, to cover their government spending. So, we have to get a handle on this. Fourth, accountability and transparency. Everybody knows I'm all about that. I put it all over social media. So full transparency is absolutely imperative. And finally, leadership practices, what it preaches. If they're making you promises, have they finished them? Because I know when I make a promise, I always finish it. So I ask for your vote on May 5th. We'll see what happens, but may the best person win for all of you, and it'll be exciting.
Hello, my name is Dan Turk, and I'm running for Commissioner of the South First District. I currently am the Madison County Treasurer, and I'm completing my second term. I've got 7 months to go there. Honestly speaking, I know basics of what the commissioners do. I work with the commissioners on the finance committee. I spent 7 years, voted my time in the treasurer's office. We've been fairly successful at that. I think by the end of this term, the county will earn about $20 million based on the investing that we've done for the county and attempt to build up the county funds, work with the auditor on the rainy day fund, which some people just touchy subject. On the asset fund, I think it's important for the county to have those funds back so that you don't have to go to the bond bank, or you don't have to go get a bond from one of the local banks to be able to pay off projects if you have the money. I think that's a good idea. I spent 25 to 27 years in the financial services industry. I have a degree from Indiana University in management. When I became treasurer, I told people, I said, I've only managed myself for 27 years. I stayed on when I became treasurer. They've done an excellent job, and most of them are still there. They allow me to be able to work at finding investments that we can use to improve the county's baseline. Again, I think that we've done a pretty good job of that. I've taken some of the processes that the former treasurer put in place, we tweaked them a little bit. We run a very efficient office. And, but as far as commissioners goes, I'm devoted to the treasurer's office right now. I can't tell you everything they do. I know the commissioners sit on the finance board, that's where I work with them. We reconstructed the financial plan of the county around different investments, and that's how we've gotten where we are. If I win as commissioner, I appreciate your support on that. It'll take me a little time to get in there and get going, but I will not set quietly all the time. If I think something's going on I don't like, I will let it be known. But I only want to be one of three. So I'm not going to sit here and promise you I'm going to do a bunch of stuff because I have to be two of three to get anything done. But I will work at it and do the best I can and devote the time to it like I devoted the time to the treasurer's office. And I'm not a big talker, so thank you very much for having me here. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Gaskell. I've had the privilege of being your state senator for almost 8 years now. And coming here today to humbly ask you to accept me again for 4 more years to see if we can get some more things done. A little bit about my background. Grew up in Anderson and Pendleton. Both life resident course, we'll pass that. Look forward to sticking around and answering any questions that anybody has, even after the program is over. I'll stay in here till they turn the lights out, and I'll stand with you in the parking lot. Thanks.
I first want to thank every speaker who did a good job. Stayed within point. Thank you very much for that. We will have a Q&A in just a few minutes. I want to apologize to everybody out here because I forgot two things I needed to do, or three things I need to do right away. First of all, John, would you please stand up and give us a prayer? I apologize.
Let's pray. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe. We acknowledge your kingship, your sovereignty over us, and we humbly thank you for the graciousness that you've shown to us through your only begotten Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Thank you for these who are now or aspire to be public servants. We thank you for their witness and what they shared with us tonight. We ask that your will be done, and that life in the state of Indiana and in Madison County would get better as a result of men and women who are called to public service. We pray in the name of Jesus. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Two things, we've got a couple of people who would like to speak to this short period of time. Go ahead and start off.
Nick Freeman, Madison County Republican Party Treasurer. Just want to give a reminder for those of you who are candidates with active political committees, your finance reports are due by noon tomorrow. If you're a local candidate, it is due to the county election board. You can email it to the county election office. If you're a state candidate, you have the e-filing system with the state. Just make sure your reports are in by noon tomorrow. If you haven't already seen it.
Thank you. Susan is a board member of the Tea Party. She's got some information here she'd like to share with everybody.
Well, yes, I was wondering how many of you knew about these toxic batteries plant that we want to put in Marlboro? Okay. About maybe fourth of you. That's what I'm getting going around. I just found out about and it's called it's battery storage. It's for electricity. They want to put it in about 1.5 miles from my house, and there's a lot of bad things about it. First of all, I'm just going to very quickly summarize. They're lithium batteries, and you probably heard a lot of problems with lithium batteries and fires. So the thing about it is, they cannot put out these big lithium batteries with water. They have to have sand or cement or foam or something like that. And then even the gases that go up in the air when this fire is going on is very, very toxic. In the gases, there's it says on here, and it also says in this website right here, it'll tell you all the different things about the fires. They're just really, really bad, and you can die from them. And the thing about it is, if you do put water on them, that's really bad. So the next bad thing is that they use a lot of water. And you know how the problem with water here in Madison County is. So, and they pollute, they make a low humming noise that's going to drive people crazy. And the last thing that I want to say is that it's going to make our the value of our houses and our property go way down, especially if you're close to it. And like I said, we are going to be about 1.5 miles away from it, which also means that if there is a fire, we're going to be notified, and we are going to have to leave our home just like that. We don't know if we're going to be able to go back or not. So I have these flyers. It has the website on it. This group, novetsnest.org. They're fighting this, and Oh, yes, I'm gonna hand them out. I would like to ask you to please help us go there and see for yourself, read all about it, and see if you think that you want that going in, either next to your house, a mile away, 2 miles away, even 10 miles away, wherever you are in Madison County. Please help us by signing the petition that's online, or you can sign the petition that's over here also. So, thank you very much.
Susan will be after the meeting, after Q and A. If you have questions, she'll be over there. She's got some documentation she can show you and answer the questions that she can. Okay, so.
And Susan, I have been posting about this, and I have talked to several. I don't think this is gonna go through. I wouldn't give up your fight, but I have been working behind the scenes, and I have posted about it, so I'm very aware and trying to get that information out.
Thank you so much for that, and I hope, I really, really hope you're right.
No, I think I have a strange feeling.
Yeah, we don't wanna, just stop and assume that it's gonna be okay, but yes.
So can I think we'll do that after the meeting?
Sure, yeah.
Get together, if anybody's interested, they'll be over there at the little booth that she has back over there. So, okay, you got a question?
You got a question for the panel, for the commissioner?
Okay.
Can I ask now? It's related to this.
I was gonna ask the vote whether you guys wanna take a 5-minute break or go to Q and A, which one you want? Q&A? That's right. What questions are?
As of now, for our Senate candidates and our commissioner, why is your position on battery storage, carbon sequestration, wind and solar?
Who did you ask the question?
Commissioner and our Senate candidates.
So I think mine is pretty evident. I'm a doer. I think everybody kind of knows. I use my own money to protect the Pell's waterhead. If anyone else like you, I'll do the same on that behalf. I do think, did you guys have like some area up there that got annexed and it was signed by Gaskell for you guys to be able to have that brought in? Something like that.
Something
Yeah.
brought in.
So there's no way on God's green earth I'm ever gonna sell out our environment because I know the potential hazards, the long-term effects to children, adults, infants. There's no way that I would ever bring any of that close to us. So I'm a definite hard no. There's no swaying me on it.
Okay.
Can I respond to that? Did I hear you say that I had something to do with that?
There was like an annex or something.
No,
Okay.
He asked the question.
No,
Please answer.
Yeah.
I'm
you
answering,
answer.
he asked me a question,
Yeah.
I'm answering his.
I just want to make sure I heard you.
Yeah.
Okay, number one, guys, something like that requires zoning. Zoning happens at the local government level. Okay, so the commissioners will be involved, the planning commission will be involved, the Board of Zoning Appeals will be involved. State government, you do not want state government making zoning decisions because not only do you bring in your state senator, but you bring in 49 other state senators that live somewhere else. So the system that we have makes this decision close to the people. So I'm getting a little darn tired of you throwing out accusations when you know nothing. Nothing.
It's not a time for.
Well, he's not gonna attack me on my
Both of you, neither one of you need to be speaking about it. It's.
Well,
you guys want to get together.
there was no state law passed to enable this to get started. That is just absolutely false, and that's not the way zoning works. Now, do I want to? No, I want to do it. And I don't want to.
Can I ask you, President Duncan, how long does a case like this generally take over to the average?
The average for a capital case is probably 3 to 4 years. For an average case, it's usually a year to 18 months, but for an average capital case, it's 3 to 4 years.
Anybody else on the panel?
My name's Lloyd Brown, I'm a retired law enforcement officer from here in Anderson. I've been involved in investigations of different kinds for over 40 years. Some of the candidates spoke briefly on the homeless issue. That's something that's growing every year in Madison County. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And I know that we've tried to do some things because we moved them from one camp and out of there, where you were down by the river, down by Dawson's Garage, and they just moved someplace else. And they're going to different parts of the different problem. And a lot of it has to do with mental health. What I would ask the panel, and like I said, several of you have already touched on, is a commitment, because just the prosecutor's office, just the sheriff's department, just the council, and even at the state level, you can't do it by yourselves. You're going to have to get with the communities in Alexandria and Elwood and Chesterfield, wherever, because it's going to take those bodies also to everybody come together and work together to try to get this solved. And I don't think it's ever going to be 100% solved, but it sure is out of control now, and it's not going to get any better until people work together. And I'd like to have your commitment to work on that jointly.
Anybody want to start?
Most certainly. That is the reality that we face with a lot of the lower level crime that we deal with. I understand that you're asking just about homelessness. Obviously, we come into contact with it when they are charged with crimes, and that's our only real direct involvement. But Brian Bell brought up a good point, which is something I've been intricately involved in, is the use of our opioid settlement funding in the jail. So not only will we have a jail facility with the actual kind of capability that we need for incarceration here in Madison County that we've needed for about 20 years, but with that, it's not simply just putting people in jail. We will have real rehabilitation programs for folks in the Madison County Jail, funded out till about 2038 from opioid settlement funding, where they'll receive actual treatment at the Madison County Jail, which is something that is both challenging from funding standpoint, from the space. They simply do not have the space or the ability to do these things in the Madison County Jail as it is right now. But I know we're all excited, and I can't imagine anybody wouldn't be willing to be participants in that and working towards, I think, real progress here in Madison County.
Anything else? All right, go ahead.
We, this year, we passed Senate Bill 285, which I think Lloyd will have an impact on that. It's not going to be the end-all solution, but it requires, it allows law enforcement another tool to try to get somebody in front of some help, and tries to move these homeless where they set up their tent and you make a move, and if they don't, you eventually you give law enforcement a tool to refer them to some mental health help.
The problem, isn't that the elimination of like the camps?
Yes,
Cities.
it's close, yes.
Anybody else?
So there's got to be a factor here of where are we going to get the providers to help treat a lot of these individuals, and how are we going to identify them from what's real and what's made up? A big thing I would probably ask the county, and this is something I would move to, is setting up rotations where you can bring in students who are actually in college or wherever, and they are from here, because most likely those people will return back to their home base if they're educated. So when I did missionary work in Haiti, I've been with a physician who's been in Canada for 17 years. It was my so there's a local hospital. We found it was actually from that area, and we had it was area, and we later haven't been back to that area since, and it's been almost 15 years. And that's what you want to invest. And I think the greatest thing is bringing people are missing an intricate piece. And that's where we get the providers and the help and the medicines to help these people. So you're gonna have to find that bridge, and that's something I can bring to the table. Clearly, I have a very successful practice of over 10,000, people that come from all over. And we seem to be getting it done on a cost-effective way. We offer a cash pay at 40% discount, so that people can have affordable care and can't afford insurance. So that's the reality that we're gonna have to look at.
Yeah, there hasn't the healthcare nationwide, the availability for it is really dropped. I mean, I personally look at this issue and my life. So it's an issue. Employees exactly right. It's going to take buy-in from all those departments, all the departments. I think law you're talking about, Senator, is every single day when you work for and so many times the health care providers would be frustrated. Why are you this didn't get help? It was a huge frustration for me, and I know all the others. But there's got to be something put together with everybody involved in healthcare, because it is a problem. I own a business in downtown Anderson. It's a problem. It's a huge problem.
One of the last interactions that I had with a homeless person, and he was just by himself, wasn't even in a camp. The big problem that he had is he didn't have any ID. He was unable to prove who he was. He didn't have any birth certificate, and he said, "I want to find a job," but he goes, "No one will hire me." I'm like, "Well, you have a point." And I said, "Well, where were you born at?" "He's not from here. He's just a traveler." I said, "How long have you been traveling?" He said, 10 years. I said, "So 10 years you've been homeless?" He goes, "Yes." And I was like, and he was a very, very nice man. And you're like, how else can we help you out? The best we can do is drop them off to Christian Center. And hopefully they'll give them back to the community that they came from, and maybe they'll be able to get a birth certificate or something. But I mean, this one seemed like he was educated. In fact, he brought his books with him so he could read and have something to do when he's out traveling.
Back here, me? Yeah, this is Catherine. Me? It's like, right here, you point it.
I'm Catherine, Supervisor talks about taxes, the 3% highest,
We're the third highest out of 92 counties.
of what?
On taxes. So we were,
Tax.
right, so we were the
I'm
only,
sorry, what? You talking about property tax?
I said taxes.
I know, what tax?
Taxes in general, when you look at an overall look at our taxes,
So can you tell me what those taxes are?
well, you have to take
What
all of
tax
them.
do you pay?
So, okay, so like, if we go out, so did we not increase the lid tax?
No, not the last 2 years ago.
But we have overall, if you look at the last 5 years, we were only one of 3 counties that increased taxes during the pandemic.
Why do you think we have, they're like around 4 minutes, okay?
Okay, well, Michelle Daniels, who is the president of the county election board, if you know so much, why don't you share it with the people, Michelle? Because I know this is a total attack on me, so go ahead.
It's not an attack, I'm on the property tax assessment board with you. Okay, you're talking about taxes, and when you say we're the third highest, I want to know what tax you're talking about.
Overall, we are the third highest out of 92 counties, overall.
Overall, what taxes? Are you talking
With all taxes, I don't know how else can we answer, Michelle.
Property tax, lit tax, what?
Okay.
Income tax. Stop. Ma'am, do you not know what the word got me means?
That's applicable here.
That was a guy, that's not what we're here for. These people are up here trying to tell you what they're going to do. You can talk to her after the meeting. How about that?
Well,
Can you do
I'm
that?
gonna ask a question about, I'm gonna know third bias, and well, like property tax assessment. And I don't understand when she says third bias. Because our taxes, when you compare in the state.
Ma'am, she's talking about overall everything. You're talking about specific, I believe. Is that correct?
Correct.
You're talking about
He
this.
said we're
she's
moving
talking about
on.
this.
He said we're moving on. Next
Okay,
question.
we're moving on. Okay, David.
Moving on. This
No
is-
gotchas.
This is for Dan Gert. Dan, I'm here as Facebook page administrator for Citizens for New Morgan Corners office in Madison County. We have 450 people that are members, plus thousands that watch our videos all the time. Our question to you, for a proper morgue in Madison County, it has to come from the commissioners. They have to start the ball rolling on that. So far, the commissioners have been reluctant to do that because a lot of us feel that the cooler in the pool barn is not an adequate morgue for the county. We're one of the 10 busiest coroner's offices in the state. Prosecutor Hannah said we're also in the top 10 as far as for crime in the state. So with you, would you support a proper morgue and coroner's office for Madison County? You do very good financially. Right now, the county commissioners have not wanted to do that. With this election, with you being there, if you would support it, more than likely Rick Gardner is going to get his position. So we're going to have 2 new commissioners. And our greatest chance of getting a proper morgue for the county, which our county has never had a morgue, would be this next election cycle. We just want to know if you would support that or not, according to finances, because it has to start with the commissioners.
I would be willing to look at that and take it under consideration. I'm not opposed to it by any stretch of the imagination. There are a couple things that I think the commissioners should look at that in the past they haven't. That's one. So I would support that.
Okay, thank you very much.
I mean, unless I find something that would tell me no, but, you know,
First row
I
right
would
here.
start it.
This is for you, Mike. I was wondering if you heard anything about any legislation coming up about the legalization of marijuana in the
Yeah, it has been tried several times since I've been there, and I can remember the first time that I ran. I'm opposed to it, but I remember the first time that I ran. We had a podcast between the Democrat candidate, the Libertarian candidate, and me. We were all together, very friendly and very cordial. And that question came up, and I just said, look, the Libertarian guy has that in his platform, and if that's an issue for you, that's important to you, legalizing marijuana, then you need to vote for him, because I'm not going to be your guy on that issue. So, yeah, and the numbers are not there right now, but.
I feel these suspicious looking places around town. Some of these gas stations just all over. Almost paraphernalia. And we've got several across the town in the last 4 or 5 years. And there's one place on Catterfield that deals almost exclusively. I'm sure what they're doing is legal, but to me, the undercurrent is that it's okay to take drugs. I think we have to convince society that it's not.
That's
Even
right.
though possible.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to the back, yes.
You know, this is for Catherine and Senator Gaskell. Just want to know where you guys are on the efforts to eliminate or consolidate township buildings.
I'll let you pick. Do you want to go first or second? You can have your choice.
So I am against eliminating township government. I feel that it's important to have the people who live in that area invested in that area and that they have a voice. But I also feel like we're missing some of the people who are in unincorporated areas that they're not able to vote. Because we really need to look at that and allow them to have some voices, you know, especially like if a battery plant's coming in, but it's in an unincorporated area. So that legislation needs to be reviewed as well. So I do not want to eliminate, towns or anything like that, municipalities. The other thing is I don't want to consolidate elections either. I want them to have their time, just like, you know, county and the state has theirs, so federal. So that's my position on that.
Thanks for your question. So we have somewhere around, I think, 1,005 townships in Indiana. And I've got a spreadsheet at home somewhere on my computer. There are some that are down less than 100 people. And many townships are, they're having trouble fielding candidates. They have vacant positions. There are townships who are not following the State Board of Accounts audit requirements. There are townships that are spending more on the salaries of the employees of the township than they are on poor relief. So just a quick history on this is when Indiana was founded as a state, we didn't have the kind of communication, the kind of transportation that we have now. So you carve your county up into smaller units, and township government took care of a lot of things. They took care of the schools, they took care of the poor relief, which they still do today, fire protection. They had a lot of responsibilities, and over the years, townships have kind of let some of those responsibilities drift away, and there's not a lot for them to do. So we really, the big answer to your question, the bottom line is, we've got to really look at reinventing local government because it's inefficient. And every time that we start to make decreases in your taxes at the state level, we're seeing them increase at the local level. And there's no incentive for units of local government, townships or otherwise, to work together. There's the incentive now is the ones that are not team players, they're going to get rewarded for not being a team player. So we've got to change that and totally reinvent.
Is the townships shrinking as far as population?
Well, so here's you've got the whole state, Indiana. It's carved up into 92 counties. And then each county is carved into a township. Now, a township, or into multiple townships. I think we have 14 in Madison County. A township is not to be confused with a town. So for instance, you go down to the southeast corner, the town there is Marpleville. The township, which is larger than Marpleville, is Adams Township. Now we have some townships that don't even have a city or town. Jackson Township to our west has no city or town in it at all. And so, you know, the local government needs to be reinvented. It's very modern for 1820s society.
Let me ask you, if you decrease that Senator Gaskell, does that mean we'll decrease senator coverage and like commissioner coverage and all that as well? So will we see the fall for all the areas of government then that are going to decrease that?
My answer was not about decreasing anything. It's about reorganizing government, making it more responsible, more responsive to the people, and less expensive.
So would that eliminate any positions?
We're talking philosophically.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just asking.
So local government is too expensive right now. That's you know, we've got to do something to change that.
Got a question for Kimberly Steve on Broadwell. We have, this is only what I've seen. When you have an incumbent running for re-election in a party, that normally the party backs the incumbent. What inspired you each to run and primary and incumbent sheriff?
Number one for me, if you don't like what's happening, you gotta do something to change it. So if you want something changed, you be the one to step up and make that change. You know, I know it's not the attack, but I've been on the crash team for an extended period of time. I've not seen the sheriff one time on my crash team, on our crash team. Late night, used to bad weather, you would see a sheriff show up. You would see, knowing that our call log was overly busy, you would see the sheriff show up. That's not happening. Someone taking the time to say, how are you, knowing that you just went through whatever death scene that you just seen. That means a lot. It's the little things that account for officer morale. It's the little things that make things seem a lot better. And I think there's a lot more that needs to be done to show officers, and also the communication with citizens. I don't think everyone's informed as far as what we're doing. Crime rate is not reduced. I mean, it's all smoke and mirrors. Like I said, you could say that, statistics show this. Well, statistics doesn't show public perception. Statistics doesn't show, like I said, community policing or proactive or reactive policing. Statistics only show this minute little thing, and it doesn't show the full statistics of things.
First. Well, like to preface my comments, first and foremost, is I have a ton of respect for Sheriff King. I like him as a person. I'm very disappointed in what I've seen in the leadership of this administration. I've been in a leadership position up there. I believe, and I said it when I talked to you earlier, it's your job as the sheriff to be the face of the sheriff's department. It's not to get reelected. It's because the citizens voted you into Madison County. They expect to see you. They expect you out and back. I've always been that way, and I'll always be that way. That's why I'm running. I was also called and contacted by many officers up there who requested me. So the morale up there is not good right now. We've had to battle for pay. It wasn't until the very last council meeting that the sheriff even got up and said anything positive to help. That is this job of the sheriff. And that's why I'm running. Thank you.
This is for Catherine, Dan, and Senator Gaskell. If elected, what specific steps will you take to bring Fortune 500 employers to Madison County so that we can again return to single-family households and good-paying jobs? What I've heard a lot about is homelessness. I've heard about increased prison sizes. I've heard about opportunities of batteries coming in. I'd like to hear your plan, because it's a difficult situation that you are in. And I'd like to hear what your plan is.
Let's go first. Captain?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so the things that the laws that we pass at the state level apply to the whole state. And so you can create an environment that makes Indiana a good place to do business. But when it comes down to employers making their choice on where in Indiana they're going to go, they look at a lot of things that state government cannot take care of. Local government has a role to play in it as well. And school systems are highly important. And I think one of the things that we've done is try to increase school choice options. I think that's hugely important. But on the tax front, that's where we have really fought hard. Since I've been there, we've had tax cut after tax cut after tax cut. And the thing that is going to really open us up for more opportunities to reduce taxes is that the teachers' pension fund was about $50 billion in the hole when Mitch Daniels took over, but they wouldn't invest and grow the pension assets to be able to pay the benefits in the future. And so that unfunded liability, because you promised, when you retire, this is what you're going to get. We don't know how long you're going to live, and you're going to get a lifetime payment. So we have been chipping away at that, and we're on track to have that fully funded by 2029. So what that means is that the pension would be self-funding because of the investments. That's going to take $1 billion a year out of the state budget. And if I am fortunate enough to get hired to go back by you all, the thing that I'm going to make sure is that we're not going to increase the spending and gobble up that $1 billion. It's going to be tax cuts. The key, low tax environment with good opportunities are just two of the keys. And I think Madison County is situated in an area where the county is getting full and things are going to spill up to Madison County. I think we're on the verge of having some really good things.
To my business, driving here through neighborhoods on main roads. A lot of it's inside the city, but in the county, a lot of the roads are a mess. I think bridges, there's some bridges that need to be improved. It's going to have the industry, we're going to have to try to beat that. And zoning laws looked at, like for the battery. And I know what happens to the town after the upper ring block. I used to have friends that didn't work with upper rings. Oh, the best thing that happens is you don't know this leading. It was not. Some of them come back and visit every once in a while. I'll say, this is the best thing that ever happened. But I would like to see the city of Anderson and Madison County be doing better in getting jobs here. Again, if you have any jobs, so, I mean, that's my feeling on it. And I'd say I've not been involved with council commissioner votes in the past. I'll learn more about that in the future, but I think the infrastructure is one of the big deals that the commissioners are involved with.
Okay, so I think it's going to be very difficult to recruit new businesses at this time because of our water system. It's our most precious resource. We don't have a lot of it, and we got big problems coming. It's going to get a whole lot worse with the waters. I'm telling you that right now. And nobody seems to want to address it, and nobody wants to seem to talk about it. But we need to talk about it, and we need to get to the bottom of it. So I think it's going to be a real struggle. I also think with the situation going on with Nestle and their taxes for their properties, and that it ballooned like $22 million overnight, and that's in litigation. I think that's going to be a big turnoff to people. So we're not leading by example, we're not doing things like we should, and people are going back and they're looking at what the history. They've seen what Coles had to go through with their taxes. They saw what Lowe's had to do with their taxes. It doesn't make it palatable. Businesses are leaving. Why are they leaving? So the other thing is we ask ourselves, we even have water in our county to survive. So there's a problem, and when people say to me, just look at in Alexandria, and they have that whole drain problem that's going on up there, and now it's gonna cost us $20 million, and we're gonna get a regional utility district. We're going to pay for that. But everybody keeps saying, but it wasn't on maintenance. Well, whose fault is that? It's not the service fault. They're the ones putting it there, and they knew it hadn't been on there, and now they're gonna make this put off to everybody else, and it's going to fall over into your checkbooks. That's the bottom line. So I don't know, people talk about transparency, but I don't see a lot of it going on, except for on my.
Implementation and management of a needle exchange program was mentioned. And I want to know in each of your roles, do you support the needle exchange program in its current form? Do you oppose it? Do you think it needs reform? What is your community, and what do you do in your role either to carry that vision forward or to end it?
I completely oppose it. Go ahead, start with the one you have been in.
I would say generally I oppose needle exchange programs, particularly with it is just further, creating a challenge, and what we're trying to do is enforce the law as pertains to drug use in this community. That only further compounds our problem. I understand it when it's a regional or specific effort, like some years ago when you had a real challenge in Austin, Indiana, where we had such an HIV epidemic that was going on there, and I can kind of wrap my head around it. It's a targeted approach to a specific health problem, but not just a general needle exchange program. That I don't support.
The needle exchange program that we had here wasn't just needle exchange. It was given cotton balls. It was given clean water. It was given meeting in the alleys and giving the exchanging the needles. What ended up happening is the officers were called to pick up the needles. We're the one that's now dealing with the dirty needles because they're found in our community, because they don't get exchanged, they get thrown back into the community, and we have to pick them up. I think it's probably about 5, maybe 7 years ago, all officers were given a needle kit so we can pick up the needles and put it in the needles so we don't get stuck with it. So, to me, having that in our community, giving more access to them, and not making diabetics aren't given needles. It's only the drug users getting needles, and that's a big.
From a business standpoint, I own a landscape company in town. We do a ton of commercial work in Madison County. We do commercial work in other areas that do not have the needle exchange program, and might have to get into real estate. It's just.
Yeah, well, I was gonna.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I need elbow room, I'm hyperactive, so I didn't. It just didn't fit. 2018, I helped get the first needle exchange program defunded. I can't remember if you were with us, were you there too? Okay, we helped get it defunded, and then in 2019, they brought it back and put it right across the street from my old house. And so I had to make a conscious decision on how to proceed, and I chose to move over my house. But where I'm going with that, I learned that the oldest working needle exchange program in the world was established in 1984 by the Junkie Union of Amsterdam. So it's still working 30-something years later, and while Indiana, I can't think of the guy's name, he went and took pieces and parts of the program, brought it here, tried to establish it in Indiana, but they forgot the safer options to drug addiction part, which would be the cannabis. and I know a lot of people are either for it. I'm pro cannabis because it helps people medicinally if they use it properly. But with the needle exchange program, I think it won't function properly until they have safer options to treatment.
Okay, so, that's a tough question for me because I'm in healthcare. I am for needle exchange programs. But what we're not talking about in this room is you had a poorly picked person to oversee it. And when you do not have the correct people implementing the program who are following the guidelines, who understand the guidelines, that's when it becomes a problem. And that is what has happened here in Madison County. So it's like anything, Scotts County, they had it, they implemented, they oversaw it, they had people with visions, they knew what the outcomes, if we did this would happen, if we did that. Problem in Madison County is you do not have the right person running the show for that. They should not be given out by law with no type of balance. So,
First enacted it, got on the county council. The county council only has fiscal responsibility, it's not a full legislative body. So Brent Holland, who is a good friend of mine, now deceased, fireman and county councilman, we worked together and figured out a way that we passed a resolution, or an ordinance rather, on the council that forbid county funds to be expended on a needle exchange program. And so we stopped it momentarily, I guess I would say. And then the commissioners at the time voted to continue the program, but to run it through, I believe it was a SPY at the time. So they found a workaround, and there was nothing else we could do. When I got down to the state senate, we have had, I believe, 2, possibly 3 times where it's come up for a vote to extend it, and I voted against it both times. It has a sunset provision in it, and so I'm hoping that we get another opportunity to kill it, because it's not just giving people clean needles. They give them the tourniquets, they give them the, I don't know all the terminology because I'm pretty square and I don't know too much about drugs, but they give them the little cooker pots, they give them a complete kit to break the law and ruin their health. And I've had 2 relatives, cousins, that passed away from drug use. They didn't catch HIV from their drug use, but are you any less dead from an overdose than you would be from HIV? It's a horrible program. If I get an opportunity to, with some new senators coming in, we may have the votes to kill it.
Oh, you all back.
Okay, this is a question for Brian Bell. Why did you retire in 2022?
I'm retired because I was 55, draw my pension. I have a business, like I said, I've had this for 30 years. Quite honestly, probably would have stayed retired had things been going good in the church.
How many years did you serve?
At 33 years.
30 years. Most people would.
Well, somebody has an asked question first. Go ahead.
Last 2 years, program. create all for us. This is and it's not there to help what I've seen. Some help. I completely agree with you. I am completely appalled at that system as well. It has some good benefits to it, but it certainly has lost its way, kind of like the needle exchange program. And so the only way to fix anything is to let the people see what's actually going on. And I think there's so much cover up that we're not going to be able to fix it until we expose it. So I agree with you. There needs to be more education. There needs to be more work experience, and that's not going on. We're losing experienced people and bringing in all these other, well, I'll say warm bodies, and that's not getting it done for us. So I agree with you. We've got big problems with the DCS program, and we need some better oversight in that. But I just don't know where we're going to get educated people enough to oversee it. And so, until we fill out the layers, I agree with you.
I also agree with you. It's an excellent question. And the frustrating thing about being in the legislature is that you get to set the policy, to make the rules, then the governor's office picks the people that execute the policy. And prior to when Governor Braun came in, we didn't have very good leadership. We had very poor leadership in DCS. And we're excited that he picked somebody that understood there was a problem. It's a huge problem, and looked like he was, the new director was taking some big steps to try to fix it, a multi-year fix. And there's been, I don't know whether it's a health issue or what, but the director has been on leave for a while. I don't know the details behind that, or how long it's going to last, but it's got to be fixed. I sit on the Family and Children's Services Committee that receives any legislation that's related to DCS issues. Doing our best on that. You said you can make it better, but have a good person running that agency that's committed to change, because it is absolutely horrible.
Andrew, in your
fatalities, particularly with children who have been placed back in homes where they shouldn't have been there. With Judge Coaster, I think that, so I replaced Steve Coaster, who was our former chief deputy, is now the juvenile court judge. And in his role, I think we've seen a sea change in the accountability for DCS in Madison County. I know he works tirelessly supervising, because they really oversee what DCS actions are from the court. We also review all of the 310s, which are the intakes. We've done this for years, where they send them to our office. I disperse them amongst our prosecutors, and then we meet about cases that we have an issue with how they handle that. And we also review any report of child abuse or neglect has to make it to our office, and we're fighting at times to make sure that those into our office, and ultimately those decisions are ours. Sometimes where obviously our proof in the criminal world is beyond a reasonable doubt, and their proof in that system is a preponderance of the evidence, 50%. And there are times when they have to be the ones to really carry that burden because of the nature of that instance. But I will say it's something we're tirelessly on here in Madison County, where there's a lot of work to do, and I would love to see some statewide progress on that, and not just what we're facing here.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm going to have one more question. You can keep yours up, so go ahead.
Okay. I have a question for all of the sheriff candidates. My name is Christina Johnson. How will you guys uphold the Constitution in your role as sheriff? Specifically ensuring that only valid and properly authorized warrants are enforced and due process is followed, and the safety and the rights of the people in custody are protected from the moment they are detained.
Are you talking about legals or illegals or both?
I'm talking about people that they detain, people, like people, anyone that they uphold the Constitution. And due process. Yes, no particular one, just the sheriff's.
So currently I'm still deputy on the road, and we are bound by the laws of the Constitution and the state. So, you know, a warrant is valid once it is signed by a judge. There's a lot of, you know, if the warrantless arrest, then at that point in time, it is still bound by the laws of the state. So sometimes every once in a while we'll have a question, we'll contact the prosecutor, and we'll ask the questions of validity or what. Is the proper course in which we can
So in order for a warrant to be valid, it would have to have a signature on it, correct?
On a warrant, yes, but a warrantless arrest does not have a signature. And there's a lot of warrantless arrests that we can do.
And like Kim said, she's absolutely right. We have to follow all the probable cause to effect an arrest. If, for instance, if there's a complaint or an issue, then it'll be investigated.
Anybody else? Okay. Basically, what you're talking about is making sure everybody has a process to due process of law.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And it's almost every office that's sitting up there has due process. Okay. Now, I'm not gonna call you. I apologize. You had a couple. We got some. Let's wait until we get still here. Go ahead.
Okay. When you drive through this town, it's sickening. Everything is getting ran down. What are we gonna do to bring in the money? Are we gonna put the reservoir in? How are we gonna get wealthy people to come here? Wealthy people brings business. They've gotta be able to build, you know, $500 million homes, whatever they wanna build, instead of trying to keep them out. The reservoirs would help two ways, correct? There'd be a boom to this whole county, this county's around us. It would solve part of the water problem. I just want to know what you think about it. And how, you know, our kids have to live here. They have to grow up with this. Is that what we want to see?
Okay, anybody want to try to tackle?
Was there a question there, or was that a statement?
Well,
No, that's
actually, the question is what can be done in Madison County to get recognition at Hamilton County getting big, moving over here, buying homes over here, because they want to pay their exorbitant cost over there, the trustees, you can answer that.
Well, as far as the reservoir, when I first heard about the reservoir the first time, I didn't wait. It'd be close to my house and I like to fish. Then I heard it was only gonna be about 4 feet deep. said, I heard it. And I thought, well, that's kind of a waste of money. Nobody's gonna want to live on that. I mean, if they can make a decent reservoir, but then you get into the people who don't want to destroy the state park, Mammoth State Park. I think there's a lot of study that would have to go into that, again, to see where that goes. And it probably would be a little too close to downtown to draw a lot of people. I mean, like I said, I'm not opposed to having a reservoir. I don't know if it would work. Anybody else?
As a business owner myself. So we had a CVS in Locale, and they weren't making the money that they needed. They needed to make a profit of over $1 million, and they were only making about $700,000. And so I never raised the rent the entire time they were there, and so that was some misconception. So the building sat empty until I could figure out exactly what we wanted to do, because we had lots of options, and we ended up bringing in a dental office. We did quite a bit of revision on the building. It kind of beautified that corner in that area. However, my property taxes went through. And if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have turned it into a plow kennel, and I would not have taken the hit it would end up. So the problem that we have is, we want people to take care of their properties. We want people to keep things aesthetically nice. But if they do, they're penalized for that. And so we're gonna have to figure out a way for the government to control themselves. And when we do keep our areas up to date with things, that we're not penalized for doing that. And so believe me, I've taken some hard looks to say, what if I moved my practices somewhere else, because it's astronomical. If people would see what my tax bill would do, well, yeah.
Thank you. My question is for Senator
Mr. Gaskell?
Yeah,
Your
Senator.
turn.
Yeah, my question is for you.
Mr. Gaskell?
She can go, that's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, that's good, that's fine, go ahead, you're fine.
My question is about the state laws that are regarding annexation. I know about the Alexandria Business Park where you and that close bunch of a law where they could actually annex that and to develop it without having to be contiguous. How many other areas in the state have there been laws made to allow larger developments in the country that would avoid the law that it has, the property has to be contiguous so they can develop?
There's a handful, I'm gonna say less than 20. And Alexandria has tried to develop that area for a long time. And they came to me, the city council, the mayor, and the city attorney came, and they, at one point, were in competition to try to get a GM plant, and they failed. And one of the reasons that they failed was that they weren't far enough down the line, and they wanted to be able to do something with that property. For those of you that are familiar with Alexandria, if you come up to the corner of State Road 9 and State Road 28, there's a Get-Go convenience store, and then you've got a highway garage just as you're moving to the east on 28. And then behind there is about a square mile that Alexandria is really working hard to bring some industry. Anderson's taken it hard, but Alexandria has taken it just as hard. And so we put a lot of safeguards in that if they don't turn that into a business park relatively quickly, then it's going to go back to unincorporated land.
Right, and if it does incorporate, that's going to allow them to access the city water and that kind of stuff. Is that correct? And actually, the other question is, can it be used for a battery center or data center or any AI center once it kind of gets annexed, it's out of your hands at that point? All that's doing is basically avoiding the contiguous land has to be contiguous before you annex it into the city. But again, the city allows you to, for city water. So you're kind of bypassing that to where everything area out there can access city water. So can anything go out there then, battery centers, AI, data?
It has to meet the definition of a business park, and I questioned them really hard. I talked with the mayor several times, and I said, look, if I help you guys do this, I want to know this is something going to bring a lot of jobs, and in particular, I need a commitment from you that it's not going to be solar, wind, carbon sequestration. Those were the concerns. And they assured me that it's not, they want jobs, those kind of things.
You said there's like 20 other places in the state where they kind of avoided
Yeah, it's been done at the, this was the first time that it was allowed just for a city. The other handful were the entire, it could happen anywhere in the entire county. And we did not want to give that authority to every municipality in Madison County. And so we really drilled it in very tight, just to apply to Alexandria. The other areas of the state, any municipality in the listed counties can take advantage of it. And not so here, it only applies to Alexandria.
Okay, yeah, a few hundred acres in there, so we didn't know kind of how it was going to end up. Okay, thank you very much.
Josh?
Questions for Mr. Hannah. You kind of touched on this earlier. So I'm a parent of young children. And of course, as you touched earlier, there's a lot of new things in terms of prosecution that comes up with it being electronic, cyber, things like that. I'm sitting with a few friends who have children as well. I'm sure share the same concerns. What role do you think the prosecutor's office can play in terms of education or outreach with youth in terms of cybersecurity, cyber threats, and things of that nature?
I think it's a great question. First, I have my first child is due in a couple weeks. So.
Congratulations.
That's not standard. This year, we've been in the works of going to the local high schools because I think that there is such opportunity with kids in front of screens, no matter what, it may seem like a completely safe space, like a gaming space or something like that, but that's where you see some of these, you're able to get close to somebody, you have no idea who that is on the other side of that screen, and there are predators everywhere. Unfortunately, that's the reality of the world we live in. I don't think that the number of predators have really changed. I think that their access to children has, and that's what technology has allowed them to do. But going to each of the high schools in Madison County, we have a plan for next year in conjunction with juvenile probation to put on these awareness presentations about, and it's not just one of the things that we've talked with prosecutors amongst the state. It is one of the things that you're seeing is not just the ability for or the access for sex trafficking. That is the first and foremost concern, no question. But also extremism, being able to influence young minds with access to extreme, whether that may be militant, extreme material that makes them more more likely to become a school shooter, or any of these types of situations that we see. We have to protect them, and parents have to be aware of what their kids are doing. And I understand this is a challenge. I'm sure I'll find out what's going on with your children while not being completely just a real challenge. There's a lot of materials out there, and mostly right now, we have to go on an awareness campaign for parents to know what's there and how, what resources they have to monitor those things. There's a lot of things, and I'll say one more thing. We have made great progress with we are now members, the Sheriff's Department is now members, ICAC, the Hamilton County ICAC. It covers a broad region here, and they have as many cases, I think they cover 5 counties with the Hamilton County Metro ICAC, as many cases in Madison County with our 130, 140,000 residents as they do with Marion, or with Hamilton County with almost 400,000 people that live in Marion, or in Hamilton County. That's just about the prevalence of these operations. We also had a proactive operation in Madison County last year where we brought IPAC in for a period of about 72 hours or so, where we were having these proactive contacts with people. They would show up to the predetermined location, and we were effecting arrests and charging these folks. I would much rather do that in a proactive fashion than have that be somebody's child. And I also want people to be aware that we're on the offensive about that. And I want people thinking that when they're more proactive about that. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for coming.
I have one quick question based on Andrew's answers, actually for our state senate candidates. Would either of you be interested in co-sponsoring Hayden's Law, which would create a pink alert similar to Amber Alert and Silver Alerts for due to the unfortunate murder of the teenage girl?
Be happy to talk with you about that.
Everybody, thank you very much.
Okay, that's it, Facebook. Gotta go home.
We didn't have very good leaders, we had very poor leadership in DCS, and we're excited that he picked somebody that understood there was a problem. It's a huge problem, and looked like he was, the new director was taking some big steps to try to fix it, but that's a multi-year fix. And there's been, I don't know whether it's a health issue or what, but the director has been on leave for a while. I don't know the details behind that, or how long it's gonna last, but it's got to be fixed. I sit on the Family and Children's Services Committee that receives any legislation that's related to DCS issues, and we're doing our best to try to close in on them and make them do a better job. But in the end, you set the policy, you can make it strict, you can try to find areas where you can make it better, but in the end, you gotta have a good person running that agency that's committed to change, because it is absolutely horrible.
Andrew, in your
fatalities, particularly with children who have been placed back in homes where they shouldn't have been there. With Judge Coaster, I think that, so I replaced Steve Coaster, who was our